My name is Francisco. A few years ago, I was in prison in Buenos Aires, Argentina. At some point in there, I stopped being a person and became a number. That's all you are inside. A number, a cell, a routine. I was held in the San Martin prison for several years. Sentence: 8. Nothing extraordinary. Violence during a fight. At least, that's what the file says. But that's not the important part. The important part started during my first week. The first time I heard the name of another inmate that no one seemed to recognize. His name was Daniel Rivas. He was in cell 14 in the North Block, or at least, that's what I thought. I noticed him because he talked a lot. For someone who had been locked up that long, he didn't shout, he didn't bother anyone, he just talked to himself at night. One night, he called out to me. "Hey, you're new, right?" I didn't answer. Then he said something that stuck with me. Don't get used to seeing the same guards. Sometimes they change, without warning. I thought he was crazy. There are a lot of people like that in prison. But there was something off about him. The next day, I asked about him in the yard. 2 inmates looked at each other before one of them said, "Who?" "Daniel, cell 14. They laughed. That cell's been empty for years. I didn't push it. But that night, I heard him again. "Hey, Francisco, don't ask about me." I froze. "How do you know my name?" I asked. Silence. Then his voice came back. Lower this time. "Because I've seen you before." The next morning, I checked the inmate list. There was no Daniel Rivas. Not in the system, not in the records, nowhere. I asked a guard. He looked at me like I was losing my mind. There's never been anyone here with that name. But I kept hearing him. Every night. Same time. Same place. Until one night, I decided to stay awake. At exactly 3 a.m., I heard movement. He wasn't talking this time. He was walking back and forth inside his cell. Slow, measured steps, like he was counting the space. I moved closer to my door. "Daniel," I whispered. Silence. Then his voice cut through the dark. "You shouldn't be awake this long." I asked him what he meant. There was a long pause. Then he said something I didn't understand at the time. Because the ones who don't sleep start to notice things not everyone can feel. That stayed with me for days. I started paying attention to small things. Guards who didn't remember conversations from the day before. Inmates being moved without records. Names disappearing from the count list. Like someone was correcting reality when no one was looking. One night, Daniel spoke again. But this time, not from his cell. He was in the hallway. He walked up to my door and told me they were coming for him that night. I didn't understand. "The ones who fix mistakes," he said. I tried to laugh, but I couldn't. I told him that didn't make sense. He replied, "In this place, nothing makes sense." That same night, I heard footsteps. Too coordinated, too quiet. I saw 2 guards enter the block. They weren't in a hurry. They were carrying papers. One of them opened cell 14, the one that was empty, and they went inside. No struggle, no shouting, just silence. The next day, I asked again, "What happened to cell 14? The guard looked at me for a few seconds. Then he said, "That cell doesn't exist." That's when I realized. The problem wasn't Daniel. The problem was, everyone agreed he had never been there. Except me. That night, I heard him again. But weaker, farther away. He told me, don't let them update you. Because when they start correcting you, you're not you anymore. Weeks passed. I kept asking. No one knew anything. Until one day, I checked the inmate list again. As always, his name wasn't there. But this time, there was something else. In cell 14, there was a name. My name. Sometimes, I feel like reality isn't real. When I was about 10 years old, I used to stay at my Aunt Carmen's house. On weekends, she lived in Guayaquil, Ecuador. It was an old house, from the 90s, the kind you find in the older parts of the city, with long hallways and a backyard full of overgrown plants. I never liked that backyard. I never really knew why. One Sunday afternoon, I went to visit her. She stepped out to buy a few things and left me alone, watching TV. A horror show was on, and I was completely focused. But when it ended, the house went quiet. Too quiet. I turned off the TV because I started to feel uneasy. It felt like someone was watching me, even though I knew I was alone. So I went to the backyard just to distract myself. And that's when I noticed it. The back door, the one that led to a narrow alley, was slightly open. I was sure it had been closed before. I stood there, trying to convince myself it was nothing. Then, someone pushed the door from outside. A man walked in slowly. Dark hair, straight, and he was walking directly toward me, like he already knew. I was there. We made eye contact. For a second, that felt way too long. Then he shouted, "Hey kid!" and started running at me. I panicked. I didn't think. I ran inside, slammed the door, and locked myself in the bathroom. A few minutes later, I heard the front door open. It was my aunt. I told her everything, but when we checked the backyard, there was no one there. No signs. The door was closed. Everything was quiet. Over time, I forgot about it. Until last year. I went back to that house. I traveled to Guayaquil again. After many years, my aunt still lived there. I arrived, and the door was open. I walked in, calling her name, but no answer. I checked the kitchen, the living room. She wasn't there. Then I heard something in the backyard. I felt a chill immediately. I walked to the door, hesitating, but I opened it. The backyard was empty. Or at least, that's what I thought. Because right before I turned back, I saw him. A kid, standing near the back door. Thin, simple clothes, completely still, and scared. Just staring at me. I didn't recognize him. So I shouted, "Hey, kid!" And I started running toward him. The moment I moved, he ran into the house. I chased him. But as I crossed the door, I almost ran into my aunt. She had just arrived. She asked me what was wrong. I couldn't answer. Because in that moment, everything clicked. I remembered that day, when I was a kid. The backyard, the door, the man, running toward me. In that moment, I understood everything. My body went cold. I lost my balance. My heart was beating so fast. It felt like it would come out of my chest. And now, I keep asking myself, how many times has this already happened?